Well, good evening, everybody. It is already past 5:30, so we are going to go ahead and get started with our monthly webinar. I am really excited about tonight's webinar and to share all kinds of really great information, all the things that your management company doesn't want you to know about how to have a good relationship with your management company. For those of you that do not know who I am already, my name is Jennifer Carter, and I am the Chief Operating Officer and Broker here at Ardent Residential. And I have two of my very favorite team members with me that have volunteered their time to be a part of this panel and discussion. Joshua Morton, he is our Director of Business Services. Josh, I'm going to let you introduce yourself to everybody.
Sure. Thanks, Jen. I'm Joshua Morton. I'm the Director of Business Services with Ardent Residential. I've been in community management roughly 10 years, and 7 of those years with Ardent. So I think I know what I'm doing. One of my primary roles is to work with new clients for the first 30, 60, 90 days while we are onboarding new clients to really outline expectations of the management agreement.
Awesome. Thanks, Josh. And I also have my right-hand lady, my Director of Business Development, Erin Hugerich. Erin, you want to introduce yourself to everybody that is tuning in?
Hi, everyone. I hope everyone's doing well. Thanks for joining us tonight. As Jen said, I'm Erin Hugerich, Director of Business Development. So I really touch base with all of our new clients that are inquiring about possibly onboarding with Ardent Residential. So I really work with the initial part of the contracts, proposals, and finding out a little bit of information about each potential client. I also have been in the association management industry for a while now. And so I really enjoy it. It's nice to meet new people and really get, just a different aspect on different ideas.
And Erin and Josh both, I don't know if they mentioned this, but they both manage a small portfolio. Erin mainly manages a consistent portfolio. And as Josh already said, he is the onboarding manager for all new clients that start with Ardent. And so he does, he managed communities forever and ever and ever. But now he manages brand new clients that come on board with Ardent for the first 30 to 90 days, depending on the type of community they are and depending on what they've got going on. He will manage them to really gear up that positive relationship that we want to have with our clients and with our boards and with our memberships. So he really talks about expectations very early on with clients, and he really is the one to initially establish that rapport and trust, which I think is really key to having a solid relationship with your community association management company. So we were just all talking about the topic earlier today, and we could probably be here all night long talking about this topic. So there's a lot of information to share, and I'm really excited that I can have experienced folks like Josh and Erin with me, so that you guys don't have to listen to me blabber on and on and on and on. So what I want to say first about what a board should do first as it relates to understanding their management company. The very first thing a board needs to do is they need to read and understand their contract. Okay. A lot of times when a board signs up with a management company, whether it be with Ardent or if you're attending and you are with another management company, is typically the boards that are now in place, the board members that are now in place were not the board members that actually signed the contract with the management company, and they don't understand or know the contract. So please read and understand your management contract and ask questions if you're not sure. They're very different for every client. So the scope and responsibilities are clearly outlined, or they should be clearly outlined in your management agreement, at least those communities that are contracted with Ardent. But you want to make sure that you understand what it is your management company is responsible for doing and what they're not responsible for doing. And that's kind of how we're going to start off our conversation. Oh, and by the way, you really also want to understand any additional fees or chargeback schedules for costs that are not included in your management fee, right? There's a lot of misconceptions about what's included and what's not included. And so educate yourself, reach out to your management company, ask questions if you don't know, But we're going to kick off this conversation tonight talking about the myths and some common misconceptions about what community association management companies actually do for their community associations. And we're going to kick that conversation off. Now, remember, it's ultimately going to go back to the contract because there are different service levels. And I'm just going to name a few examples. But we have full service portfolio. There's financial only. There's on-site services. So where you have a full-time and maybe multiple full-time people on site at your community association. So let's kick it off. Josh, why don't you start us off?
Yeah, thanks, Jen. I think one of the biggest myths and common misconceptions are, like you said, a couple of things that we don't oversee for the association, such as insurance claims. We are not the insurance experts, and our managers aren't equipped to take over an insurance claim. That's why we have folks in place that's what they specialize in, is managing insurance claims.
Great point. What about you, Erin?
I would say another one that I always, make sure to tell communities is that we do not manage on-site large CapEx projects, such as repaving roads. We're not there to make sure that that project is being done correctly because we're not on site daily, when that project is being complete. So that's really important. You want to make sure that big CapEx project is being completed correctly.
Yeah, I mean, this is a question that gets asked all the time. And, when you have a large CapEx project, you want to have someone in place that is managing that project, somebody that is on site on a daily basis that has an expert knowledge of that type of project. Roofing replacement projects are always my go-to because I think that they're the easiest for everybody to understand. But our managers, or any manager really out there, they're not roofing experts. Okay. Not only that, but they're not going to get up on a ladder or a lift and look at the roof. And even if they did, they wouldn't know what to look for. So, I think that's a good segue to the next common myth is that I think a lot of times communities expect managers to be experts in everything community association management related. And there is so much that goes into community association management. We're going to talk about the services here in a minute that you're typically going to find in a portfolio service. But there are so much that we do with dealing with the vendors and landscapers and pool vendors and janitor services and engineers and maintenance people. And, it's impossible for your manager to be an expert at everything. And that's why we really rely on having good relationships with our vendors. That's what we rely on them for. What about, what's my favorite saying, Josh? When I talk about being perfect.
Oh, yeah, of course. We don't graduate past human.
Yes. I mean, unfortunately, this is the kind of business and industry where mistakes will happen. Okay, it's inevitable.
There are so many moving parts that it is inevitable that mistakes will happen.
And it's all about how you handle that. And I too make mistakes, believe it or not, but and they happen. And so, you cannot expect your manager, no matter who they are, to never make mistakes. It's if they continue to make the same mistake over and over again, that's where it becomes a problem. But that's one of my favorite sayings is we don't graduate past human. There was one that you had talked about, Josh, about board members, and I think Erin, maybe you were the one when we were talking about this earlier, about how board members and homeowners don't really always see what goes on behind the scenes.
Exactly. No, I think that's huge because there's so many different things. They don't see the monthly financials being completed. That takes time, going over budgets and really like making sure everything is nice, and secure to provide that to the board. I mean, you don't really see the time that it takes to sit on phones with vendors to get estimates or, just different things that you don't see behind the scenes, but, it's all very time consuming. So
tell them, how many hours have you spent this week for one of your communities on the phone with Comcast?
A lot.
Well, also to piggyback off of that, homeowners and board members aren't seeing the influx of calls from the membership, the amount of action items that we receive on a daily basis that have to be responded to and addressed. And I mean, that's a huge piece of it. It's just the communication aspect alone.
Sure. You know, and if you are a client that has a portfolio service, meaning your management agreement with your management company is a full service portfolio agreement, what that essentially means is that it is a shared service. And your manager has a portfolio of many other clients just like you. And so they can't always, I think sometimes boards do forget that the manager's not just sitting around waiting for them to respond to their emails or pick up the phone as soon as they call. It's just not always possible with the amount of meetings that managers are in and all the balls that they're juggling. I also think another I think you brought this one up, Josh, about how it's another misconception that a lot of boards have is that once they hire a management company, is that the management company is expected to do everything.
Everything. The board washes their hands and they can walk away. I've seen it happen a few times that they expect us to just take over everything and we make decisions and do all of this. And that's primarily a big portion of my role is explaining that, that is not the case, that we still need board involvement.
We have to have board involvement, right? There are only certain things that we can do that we have power and authority to do. We still need the board's involvement. The board still needs to review proposals that we're sending over for the board to look at. And my light is like messing with me because my office is not used to it getting so dark so early. And now my thing is broken. And okay.
Jen, to also comment on that, what I've noticed with onboarding clients is that I have introductory calls with them and I go over a ton of things that need to be accomplished because they haven't been worked on in several months or years. And, we start this process and put together a timeline and we work to get all these bids and we package them up and send them to the boards and silence, like nothing.
Yeah, it would be very helpful, again, if the board is asking us and tasking us to get proposals, that the board respect the time that is spent on getting those things done for the community. Because, at the end of the day, the manager could have been doing something else for the community. And, a lot of time ends up being wasted on doing projects that never, turn into anything. Fruition never comes of those things. I know, Aaron.
Or the cost of inflation. So those proposal prices only last for so long, and then if you wait on it for 6 months or a year, then we have to go back and get that requoted. So it becomes time consuming and redundant.
Yeah, we need board members to respond, and the board members still have a fiduciary responsibility. You need to be reviewing your financials and asking questions if you don't understand. Boards, one thing I found recently is that boards are not taking meeting minutes like they should be taking. It's the management company can't take the meeting minutes because it's a conflict of interest. And so having meeting minutes is really important. And that's really a board responsibility to take meeting minutes and then to have the board approve those meeting minutes so that the manager can then post them, send them out to the community or post them on the website or however, whatever the board wants us to do with them. But we need to have them. I mean, we can't tell you how many times situations come up and we're asked by attorneys or other powers that be to produce meeting minutes, and we don't have them because the boards have not given them to us. So anyways, we've talked long enough about a lot of very common myths and misconceptions. Let's talk about what management companies actually do for their communities. Now, I'm saying management companies here at a very high level view here. I'm going to talk to you guys more specifically about our services at Ardent Residential, but you'll probably find that there's a lot of similarities in the service levels that other management companies also provide to their clients, or they're supposed to be providing to their clients. And I'm going to talk about the accounting aspect, and I'm just going to spend about 30 seconds talking about it. Aaron's going to talk about the administrative side and Josh is going to talk about the property management side. But from an accounting perspective, from the fiscal perspective, we're going to collect the money we're going to bill your homeowners, collect the money, and apply payments to the owner's accounts. We're going to apply late fees. We're going to send out late notices. We're going to pay your vendors, right? Getting your vendors paid in a timely manner. We're going to complete your bank reconciliations and your financial packages. And we're going to typically do your budget prep. Again, very high level overview. If you are a full service community or even a sided community, you're going to have all of these services included for the most part. Again, check your contract. Erin, why don't you give us a 30-second recap of the administrative portion of what we do?
Yeah, no problem. So as far as administrative goes, that really would include any closing letters, annual meetings, board meeting attendance, tracking any action items, and also customer service. So, that's more high level for administrative.
All right. And Josh, talk to us about property and vendor management.
Yeah, so the property management aspect of our management agreement includes property inspections, which the inspector completes an inspection of all the common area within the community. They also do covenant enforcement, submit violation letters. The manager actually sends an inspection report each month as well, which outlines the results of the property inspection and attaches the violation report with that. Vendor management, obtaining bids for projects, updating action item lists, getting multiple bids, packaging up, sending it to the board. So yeah.
And so I think that we also can make the comment here that, we really, again, we need the boards to still be involved, right? The thing I wanted to say about property management and the administrative tasks and the accounting is that, I'm just drawing a blank here. I'm drawing a blank.
And it all comes down to the contract at the end of the day.
It comes down to the contract, and we need the board's involvement. And let's talk about things. I think this is a good point to talk about what we don't do, right? Like what are the realistic expectations of a management partner, right? What would you say, Josh, would be your biggest thing as far as an expectation that you would want as a board member to have of a management company?
That we respond immediately to every single request that comes in, that I'm able to answer my phone at 7 p.m. in the evening, that I receive text messages, that we are just go-to 24/7.
Yeah. And you guys have to remember that based off of your management fee, okay, that you pay, if you don't have a full-time manager or full-time staff on site, is that you are paying for essentially a certain number of hours every week and every month that you're getting based off of what you pay. So the profit margins in community association management world are very, very, very low. And, sometimes clients don't realize that there is a point where it will cost a management company money to manage them because the board has maybe some unrealistic expectations about the amount of time a manager should be spending on their community, right? Because it's not just the manager that's spending the time, it's accounting, as Erin mentioned, doing your financials. It's dealing with the vendors, it's the customer service team, helping your homeowners. At Ardent, we're not a one-man show. There's a lot of management companies out there that do require their managers to do everything. I don't know how they do it, but they do. And so, you have to remember that, it's not possible for your manager, if your management fee is $700 a month, your manager isn't going to be giving you 20 hours a week of their time. That obviously wouldn't even cover a small portion of their salary. So, I think having realistic expectations about the manager's time and how much time they should be spending on your community is something you should be asking and having those discussions with your manager, right? I find that a lot of managers, especially newer in this industry, have a difficult time having those very straightforward conversations with their boards. Wouldn't you say, Josh?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, difficult conversations are tough to have as they are. But when you're managing expectations of several clients in a portfolio, it can be a little bit more challenging because all managers want to do is make their clients happy.
Yeah, and they do. They really do. The managers really, really do want to make their clients happy. And we're going to talk about that here in just a minute. But I want to talk about another thing that I think that happens. Again, talking about realistic expectations of management partner, a lot of boards expect their manager to do things for them that they're not contracted to do. And I'm going to tell you guys a story, and I'm not even lying to you when I tell you guys this story. I was managing a community a long time ago, and I was close with the board. And one of the board members knew that I was on my way to the community to meet with the board to have a board meeting with them. And one of the board members called me and asked me if I would pick up their dry cleaning on the way to the meeting. And it just amazes me. It just amazed me. I didn't even know what to say. But, again, I'm using that. That's obviously a very out there example, but I am going to give you guys a real example. There are a lot of things that that boards will ask their manager to do that are outside of the scope of services. And when a board starts asking and they kind of start, stretching the rope a little bit on the services, what they don't realize that they're doing is that they're getting the manager behind on all the things that they're actually contracted to do. So when you start asking your manager to do something that they're not contracted to do, and they end up spending a lot of time or chasing a rabbit hole or whatever it is, because again, they're wanting to make you guys happy. What happens is they fall behind on the tasks that they are actually supposed to do. So tell them my favorite example of something that we're typically not contracted to do. Not that we couldn't do it. We can do anything for a price. But what's my favorite example, Josh?
Oh no, I'm drawing a blank.
The graduation banner.
Oh, the graduation banner. Oh my goodness. Yes.
I don't know where and when.
We get asked that so many times, it's crazy.
Oh
every
my
year,
goodness.
April, May, March, April, every client thinks that we're supposed to manage the graduation banner process. And it is a very lengthy process. You wouldn't think just ordering a banner would be that difficult and having it installed. It's much more to it. Tell them everything that's involved in that process, Josh.
I mean, it's very complex. It's the communication aspect of it. It's the names, the spelling of the names, the changes, the school changes, the school names. Like it's so much. I oversaw a graduation banner project that a board was handling I think it was last year. And the amount of communication that came in because the graduation banner was wrong or there was misspellings was just insane. The board had to reorder the graduation banner again. So it's a lot more complex than a lot of people think it is.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, again, there's nowhere in at least Ardent's contract where I could find anything in our level of services that falls under ordering a graduation banner or managing that process, right? And when managers, again, a process like that could end up eating away 8, 9, 10 hours, believe it or not, of their time. Again, then the board gets upset because other tasks fall through the cracks because, again, they're not there to be a full-time manager if you're not paying for a full-time manager. So again, always remember, again, what it is that they're contracted to do and ask yourself that question. Is it something, am I asking my manager to do something that we're really not paying for? And everybody, listen, I get it. Everybody wants champagne on a beer budget. Okay, we understand that. But management companies, and I'm not just talking about Ardent, I'm talking about every management company out there, they're out there to make money too. And when I have conversations with clients about that, they're always surprised when I tell them that. Well, that's the reason businesses are in business, typically, unless they're not for profit, is to make money, is to turn a profit. So, we have to think about all of those things. All right, let's talk about some realistic expectations of the board. Erin, why don't you tell us a few of your favorite expectations that you should have from a board?
I would say really what a manager really needs from a board is good communication.
Mm-hmm.
You really need to have like a good list of your priority items that you really want to focus on so that, your manager can be really prioritize their time and make sure that they're working on things that are, important to the board. Emailing back to back and bombarding them isn't going to help. I think it's good for the managers to make sure that they got your emails and that's in your queue and that's something that they're going to be, focusing on and working on.
Yeah, but sending when you send back to back to back to back to back emails to your manager and you just get on this tangent and all of a sudden you've spent 30 or 40 emails, to your manager, that doesn't help anything. If
Right.
you have that much communication going on and you have that many requests for updates or whatever it is, you're best to just schedule a call with the manager.
Right.
It would be a
Yeah.
lot less painful for everybody, including yourself, to
Mhm.
knock everything out in a 20-30 minute call, right? Instead of back and forth emails. And then did they check it? And then managers get behind, it just creates a backlog. And another thing, this is probably Josh's biggest pet peeve, is when people send piggyback up emails requesting a follow-up when they've just sent the request the day before to do something.
24, 48 hours before you sent the request, manager acknowledges it and says they're working on it. And then you get a board email with not even 2 days later saying, hey, what's the update on this? That's a little unrealistic. And that's, again, one of my roles is to really set those expectations early on with any client that we are onboarding, and let folks know how long it takes for us to get a project done, what the expectation should be on obtaining the bids, how long that process should take. So hopefully by the time I hand off the client to the assigned manager, those expectations are already set. But there is board turnover. It's going to continue to happen. It's never going to stop. Another thing too, again, is board members sending one-off emails without other board members copied, or not having just a general board email address.
Yeah, I mean, it's frustrating when a board sends an email, but they don't copy in the rest of the board members, and the board members don't know what's going on. And then one board member will send another email, but they don't copy in the rest of the board. And before you know it, you have 5 board members sending 5 different emails about 5 different things, and nobody's in the loop except the manager. So we recommend that every board have a generic email address. So you use that email whenever you communicate to you should always be including your board members. And I'll tell you, some of the most successful relationships I've seen between a management company and a board are those where they have a liaison of the board that is the only person that communicates with the manager. Those are by far some of the most, I think, fruitful relationships, because there's one point of contact. Other board members don't get frustrated. The board liaison, who's the president or another appointed person, basically has all the communication with the manager, and then they take things back to the board and they have discussions as needed to make decisions. And then that liaison will come back and let the manager know of the board's decision. It just makes things so much more streamlined, and it cuts down on so much unnecessary, back and forth communication.
Well, and I also think that the most important thing is for everybody to act, in a professional way. And, remember that the board and the managing company, it's a partnership. Everybody has to work together. And just like how, homeowners might come at the board, with different requests, and they may get like, man, why are these homeowners being so grouchy with me? Like, I'm here trying to help. But it's the same with the management company. The management company is there for the board. They're trying to help. So everybody just needs to make sure that they respect each other. And that's how you have a great partnership, with respect.
I think that's a perfect segue into the next dot point under this section, which is how you treat your manager. Because, Josh, I'll kind of let you talk about this a little bit.
Well, just what Aaron said. You have to treat the manager with respect. The manager's going to always treat the board with respect, the client with respect, and the boards have to remember that the manager is a human at the end of the day. And like we said earlier, humans do make mistakes, and we don't graduate past being human. But anytime that you're in a customer service role, which that's what we do. We're customer service oriented. That's what we're here to serve our clients. You do get some of that heat if a mistake is made. So if there's shared mutual respect between the manager and the board, it's going to be a successful relationship.
Yeah, and I think that this industry is a very high turnover industry. The average lifespan of a manager is only 2.2 years. And so managers don't make it very long in this industry, I think, because it comes down to a couple of things. I think that they're probably not working with a management company that offers enough support training or guidance, or isn't there to answer their questions. And I think it's also because the client demands have gotten over the years really crazy. You know, the way that the boards treat the managers, and they don't really look at them as a partner. They look at them more like they're there to boss them around, and that they don't look at them as a professional. And, you know, in the state of Georgia, at least, and I know every state's different, and even in Florida, you have to have a real estate license to manage communities. So you just can't decide one day that you're going to get up and go and manage communities professionally. I mean, you have to be vetted through the Georgia Real Estate Commission, the Florida Real Estate Commission. You have to actually go through a process and take courses and pass tests. And so, you know, they are professionals. And I think that a lot of managers sometimes, I mean, I've had managers, I mean, I'm not going to lie, I've had boards make me cry, you know, I mean, it happens because, you know, there are some board members out there that are honestly not the nicest of people to other people. And managers, sometimes they don't have the grit for that. They don't have the grit to hang on and stick with it. And they end up, that's one of the reasons I think they burn out very quickly. Is because they don't have the support, the education, they're overloaded with too many clients, and they've got board members that the management company isn't working to establish a better relationship between the management company and the community. So I think that we've gotten a lot out of this meeting. I think that you just should always think, I mean, what does Ellen DeGeneres always say? Be kind to one another.
Yeah.
I think that's really huge. I think that ultimately what really makes a successful partnership is aligning expectations, good communication, cultivating a relationship with your manager, like having an actual real rapport and a good relationship with them. And remembering at the end of the day that they are human and they do just want to do a good job. I think that that's it. I think if you can do those things, because no matter what, I think you will have a successful partnership. Any final thoughts, Josh or Aaron? You guys know I like to keep my webinars at about 30 minutes. So any final thoughts?
Josh, you go.
Nothing from me.
No, I just want to thank everybody for joining
Nothing
us.
from me.
Yeah, we appreciate it. And we hope that you guys have learned a little bit about a little bit of an insight into community association management world that maybe you didn't know, and maybe your management company doesn't want you to know. But, you know, I think that if we can have these conversations and we can talk to our clients, that's how we're going to have better relationships. And that's how we're going to retain talent longer, managers in this industry longer, and they're going to stay in it longer. So thank you all. And again, as Ellen says, be good to one another. Is it be good or be kind? What does she say?
It's be kind. It's
Be kind.
Yeah, be kind.
And be good. Well, I hope everybody has a wonderful Thanksgiving. And thank you, Josh and Aaron, for your time again tonight.